少なくとも3日くらいの間は甘いものを見たくないぜ。
ケイチくん頑張りすぎだったもんね。
Rena ate a massive amount of desserts too, but her stomach seemed to be just fine.
女の子には胃袋が4つくらいあるんじゃねえか。デザート用に確実に1つは余計にあるに違いない。
まあレディーになんたる暴言ですの。そんなこと言うケイチさんにはこうでございますことよ。
Satoko had poked me very hard in my bloated stomach.
やめて。
With her gremlin face.
お腹は押さないで。中身がはみ出る。
Satoko and Rika grinned mischievously upon hearing that. A chill ran up my spine. Why were they smiling like that and walking towards me so gleefully?
やめろお前ら。血とか涙とかはねえのかよ。
千載一遇のチャンスを見逃す私と思いましてみー、ケイチの膨らんだポンポンが大変なのですよ。ケイチくんのポヨンポヨンのポンポンかいいよ。
やめろお前ら。
Rena joined Satoko and Rika in torturing me. We were still making a lot of noise outside the restaurant. I desperately blocked my stomach from their attacks, but someone else hit me from behind.
誰だ。
ハロロン。
It's Shion. Which I don't think we saw at all this past chapter. But here she is again. Like, this looks horrible.
ケイちゃんとその愉快な仲間の皆さん、こんにちはです。
お、しーちゃんだ。
Or as we know, this is Mion. After having swapped places with Shion like some time ago.
こんにちは。あれれ、今日はお店にいなかったよね。
私、今日は夜のシフトなんです。さっき来て着替えたばかりですよ。
それはそうと、お前よくその格好で店の外に出られるな。
So this takes place at least a little bit after the events of Chapter 2, where Keiichi met Shion, quote-unquote, for the first time, when he came to visit with his dad, thinking that she was Mion, pretending to be someone else. Huh.
大したことないですよ。あられもない姿で村中を練り歩いた誰かさんよりは恥ずかしくないです。
Damn it, I was just getting over it. She just had to remind me that I'll never be able to get married.
それはそうと、今日は皆さんだいぶ大暴れしたらしいですね。
まあね、いつもの部活になっちゃった以上ね。
店内とんでもないことになってましたからね。お姉も責任を感じたようで、みんなに混じって掃除をやってます。
Right, because remember, last episode we had a competition to see who could eat the most sweets from like this white selection that was going on, in order for whomever won between, you know, like a group of 5 people, no, 6, like Coach, the 2 underclassmen, the dude from the other school that's a baseball prodigy, Rena, and Keiichi, because Keiichi and Rena had won the water gun fight, and because of that they were being serviced by Mion, Rena, and Rika, or sorry, Rika and Satoko, and they were all in costume, and losers would have to also like dress up. Also, hey Moon, thanks for stopping by. So here's the little aftermath. It's interesting though. I believe this is like the second time where we've had a cut in the middle of a chapter where it's still the same day. Like at the end of chapter 2, it was still like the middle of the day when Rena got up from her seat and went to like the bathroom or whatever. And we're starting chapter 3 like shortly after the events of the competition on that same day, which normally doesn't happen.
やっぱり私たちも掃除に加わった方が良かったんじゃありませんの？
ああ、それはお気遣い無用です。さすがにお客様に掃除はさせられませんから。
そもそも一番散らかしたのはミー本人だと思いますです。
Yeah, she's right. Everybody nodded in agreement.
それでお姉から伝言です。皆さんは先に帰っててくれていいそうです。
いいよ、待ってるよ。ねえみんな。
Rena asked for our agreement. Of course, we decided to wait outside without hesitation. Satoko, Rika, and I all nodded along.
手伝えないならせめて終わるのを待ってるよ。帰っていいからって言って先に帰るとあいつ寂しがると思うからな。
おー、ケイちゃんも日進月歩、少しは成長するんですね。
まあね、レナたちがちゃんと教育してるからね。ねえ。ですわよ。ミパー。
なんだよ、こういう時だけ女どもは結束しやがって。
I hate girls. They get along so easily just because they're girls. In the end, we ended up making a lot more noise, even dragging Shion into the mess this time.
シオン、あんたいつまでサボってんの？雑巾どこやったの？ありゃいけね。じゃあ私はもう戻りますね。
みーちゃん、お掃除まだまだかかりそう？
何みんなおじさんを待っててくれてるわけ？余計な気使わなくていいって。まったくもう。
Mion looked happy to see us waiting for her, but she always says the opposite of what she thinks. I wonder when she'll grow up to be able to just honestly say thank you.
バカ、仲間だろ。終わるまで待っててやるよ。
レナたちも一緒にお手伝いできればいいのにね。ごめんね。
だからいいって。今日ね、シオンの仕事終わるの待ってから久しぶりに沖宮の家に帰ることにしたの。だから本当に大丈夫。気持ちだけでも感謝するよ。
あら、本当にいいんですの？なんだか悪いですわね。なんか悪い気がするかな。
人は大勢いるから大丈夫だよ。風が冷たくなる前にみんなひなみ沢に戻りな。
わかりましたのです。みー、お掃除、ファイト、おーです。
おう、ありがとね。じゃあケイちゃん、お嬢様方のエスコートをよろしく。途中で死角に襲われないようにしっかり護衛するんだよ。
Like she says, please protect them from assassins on their way home, but like, it could happen. Looking around, I didn't see any ladies who needed an escort. I felt more like I was the one who needed protection. Anyway, we said our goodbyes, making it easier for us to end the day and go home.
じゃあね、みーちゃん。また明日ね。
おう、また明日ね。
よっしゃ、行こうか。
We waved at Mion until she went back inside the restaurant, and after that, we all got on our bicycles and left Okinomiya. I'm trying to think where Mion is headed. Or sorry, like what day or what she's going to talk to Shion about. Specifically. And I'm trying to think if I can like pinpoint when in Meakashi like it takes place, assuming again it's still like same timelines or any of that. Anyway, on the way home we talked about how exciting it had been today, and it looked like everyone was still fired up. We had the horrifying punishment and the competitive eating contest, which turned into an unprecedented battle involving all the customers in the restaurant, and after that everything got crazy and messy. At first the waitress didn't know what to do, but after a while they ended up joining in. We had a blast.
でしたのよね。その時の富田さんと岡村さんたらもうおかしくてたまりませんでしたわ。 結局亀田も入江もかわいそうだったのです。
いやいや、しかし俺の演説もなかなかだったろ。あの時は店全体が俺の味方だったよな。
圭一は生まれる時代と国が違ったらひょっとするととんでもない人になってたかもなのです。
Keiichi, you might have been a politician.
こんな口先男がですの？どこの国に生まれてもろくな人間にはならないと思いますでございますわね。あと100年も早く生まれていたらお札になっていたかもですよ。
Can you imagine? Keiichi on
圭
a
一
fucking
さんの
bill.
お札なんてなんだか貧しいですわね。きっと200円札とか300円札とかそのぐらいの数でしたよ。
Satoko and Rika kept their continuous chatter. I was a bit tired after the day's event, so I just listened quietly. I noticed the wind was getting colder. Our shadows were getting longer as well. Satoko and Rika still had a lot of energy left, but what about Rena? She'd been very quiet. Maybe she also had a stomachache from eating too much. I looked at Rena to see. However, I was wrong. Rena was... I don't really know how to describe it. She looked very satisfied. She looked like she was like she really did have that much fun. She looked like she was as happy as she could ever be. I could tell all that without her saying a word. When I looked at her, it made me realize the word fun wasn't enough to describe what we did today.
今日一日本当に楽しかったな。
圭一くんは？
俺も最高に楽しかったよ。今日みたいなことが明日や明後日もあればいいのになってくらいにさ。
それはレナも同じかな。今日のお店の中での時間だけが永遠だったらいいなって思った。
おお、詩的なことを言うな。
圭一くんは思わなかった？
Rena didn't notice that I made fun of her. I might have been a little tactless. Suddenly I regretted having said it.
いや、俺も同感だよ。
でもね、圭一くん、別に今日だけが最高に幸せってわけじゃないんだよ。
A cold wind blew through her hair. She smiled at me, and for some reason, she looked very mature. Her appearance made my heart skip a beat.
私たちのひなみ沢での日々はどの一日だってかけがえのない大切で素敵な幸せな一日なんだよ。たとえ部活がお流れになっちゃって退屈な一日だったとしてもね。
レナは大人な考え方ができるんだな。
そんなことないよ。本当はまだまだはしゃぎ足りない。興奮がまだ冷めないだけなのかもね。
Rena laughed, and that made me laugh too. Satoko thought that we were laughing because we said bad things about her, and she started bugging me about it. Once again, we made a lot of noise like we always do.
では、僕とサトコはここでお別れなのです。リカ、もう少しご一緒してタバコ屋さんで曲がってもいいではありませんの？豆電球が切れたのを忘れましたですか？豆電球がないと寝るときに真っ暗になってしまいますですよ。
They need a nightlight to sleep. That's really cute.
それは困りますわね。
Don't you remember? We need a nightlight to sleep. Oh shit, you're right. Without one, it would be quite the problem.
あ、牧野さんの雑貨屋さん？ならここでお別れだね。これ以上行っちゃうとどんどん遠回りになっちゃうからね。
Makino's general store. Oh right, that's where it is. If they wanted to make a stop at the store before going back to the shrine, turning here would be the quickest way.
そっか。じゃあな、リカちゃんにサトコ。また明日な。
また明日なのです。それではですわ。圭一さんにレナさん。じゃあね、二人とも。バイバイ。
Rika and Satoko waved at us many times, then took the narrow path through the field. Once the noisy girls were gone, it went especially quiet all of a sudden. It even made me feel as if the sun had set in an instant. I could see my house by now, which everybody called the Mayabara Mansion. I didn't notice it earlier because of how fired up we all were, but my stomach was about to burst. The growling in my gut felt like thunder. My body must have been paying the price for me acting like an idiot earlier. There was no way I was eating dinner tonight. I'd need to tell my mom before she started cooking. But before anything, I had to go to the bathroom. My stomach was churning. Oh boy. It really didn't sound good. We got to the place where I'd always meet Rena in the morning and say goodbye in the evening.
今日はすっげえ楽しかったな。
すっごい楽しかった。あれ、ケイチくん具合悪いの？
すまん、お腹を壊したかもしれない。おとなしく休むことにするよ。
ケイチくんもまだまだお腹の鍛え方が足りないかな
レナだって俺と同じくらい食べてるはずなんだぞ。一体その細っこい体のどこにあれが収まるってんだ？
Well, remember, Keiichi, women have like 2 stomachs.
それは女の子の秘密ってことで。
Rena giggled and tried to avoid giving me an answer. She'd probably hit me if I pressed her about it. She punched me in the stomach. If she punched me in the stomach, I'd throw up for sure. So I decided not to go any
じゃ
further.
あな、レナ。また明日な。
また明日ね。
俺さ、前は都会に住んでたわけだけどさ、こんなにも一日一日を楽しいと思って過ごしたことはなかった。俺、ひなみ沢に引っ越してきてさ、きっと幸せなんだって思う。
レナも同じだよ。ほら、私も1年前にひなみ沢に引っ越してきたわけだけど、こんなに楽しい幸せな日々を送れるのが信じられないもの。
Well, she says I moved to Hinamizawa a year ago. She moved back to Hinamizawa a year ago.
そっか。なら明日も絶対に楽しいな。
そうだよ。昨日も今日も楽しかったんだもん。きっと明日だって楽しいよ。
こんなにも毎日が楽しいと、なんだかある日突然転びそうで怖いよな。
転ぶときはどんなに注意してても転ぶよ。だからいつ転んでもいいように思いっきり今を楽しむのが正解だと思うな。
そうだな。今を精一杯楽しむのが正解だな。
じゃあね、ケイチくん。おばさまとおじさまにもよろしくね。さて、レナはまだまだ遊び足りないから、また宝の山に宝探しに行こうかな。
Now, after having eaten like, you know, that much, she's still gonna go treasure hunting?
まだ遊び足りないってのか？つくづくタフなやつだな。負けたぜ。
どう？よかったらケイチくんも一緒に来ない？新しい山があってね、まだ全然発掘してないの。何かとっても可愛いのが見つかるかも。
悪いけど俺はパスするよ。それになんだか雲が重たくなってきたみたいだしな。レナも今日はおとなしく帰宅した方がいいんじゃないか？
こういう素敵な気分の日にはね、きっと可愛いのが見つかるんだよ。だからちょっとでも行ってみるね。
Oh. I felt sick enough that I didn't feel like going with her. If I felt better, I would have gone treasure hunting with her for sure. She didn't want to go home yet because she didn't want the fun day to end. That's exactly how I felt too.
わかったよ。じゃあな。可愛いのがあったらぜひ見せてくれよな。
じゃあね。バイバイ。
Bye bye. And now we swap over to Rena again. Keiichi waved over and over as if he didn't want to say goodbye yet. But after a while, he was gone. Well, I had to go too because I was going to go treasure hunting. I love cute things. I had such a wonderful day today that I'm sure I'm going to get lucky at treasure hunting. I definitely will find some wonderful treasures. I pedaled my bicycle with determination. My house is nearby, but I took another street that led to the damn construction site. It might have been okay to go home just then, but I hesitated to go, since I didn't want to be seen. I had so much fun today, and I wanted to continue feeling happy as long as I could. It was already getting late, but I felt like it was getting dark faster than usual. Just like Heiichi said, the clouds in the sky were growing darker. It might start raining hard.
でも別に だからって家に帰れるわけじゃないんだし。
Stop it, Rena. You had so much fun today. You have to stay happy as long as you can. I'm happy. I enjoy every day. Rena, say it. Say the magical words. Don't be embarrassed. You're not dumb or anything. I might be able to enjoy every day even more if I were dumb. If so, dumb is what I'd want to be.
かいのあるかなお持ち帰り。
There, I said it. I'm sure I can find something cute. As long as I believe it's cute, anything can be that way. I should fill my heart with happy memories of today and yesterday. I should look forward to the happiness I'm going to receive tomorrow and the day after tomorrow too. I reached the dam construction site. A mountain of trash loomed before me. I parked my bicycle and walked down the mountain of trash and scrap. This place is my castle. It would be incredible if anyone else came to this mountain of trash. I've come here many times and I usually stay for a long while, but I've never seen anybody walk by. This place is the village's blind spot. I heard that many people came here all the time during the dam wars, but it was abandoned after that. The villagers no longer needed to come here, and some people even forgot about it entirely. It seems like they dump trash here at midnight, but I've never seen a truck actually dumping trash at least. If they dumped new trash more often, it'd give me more time to kill. But it looks like it's not going to happen for a while. I walked down the slope of trash all the way down to the bottom and headed behind another pile. Nobody ever comes here. I've come here many times and I usually stay for a long while, but nobody has ever come to mess up this place. Not even the other kids from my school come here. They all believe that the arm of the manager of the construction site is buried somewhere in the trash piles, and they also believe the whole place is haunted. They told me that a ghost with one arm still wanders around here looking for his missing limb. Sadly, I haven't seen the ghost either. I'm not scared. In fact, I'd rather like to meet him. I wouldn't mind helping him find his arm. If he's feeling lonely, I'd want him to be my conversation partner. There's a station wagon buried in the trash pile. It doesn't have tires, but other than that, it still looks like a station wagon. The station wagon is my secret hideout. Unfortunately, the sliding door in the rear doors won't open. So whenever I want to get in, I have to enter the car from the passenger seat and crawl into the back from there. Of course, I take off my shoes at the passenger seat. Of course. Like, okay. And it seems like this is a Daihatsu. As for which one, I'm not sure. But here's the background. And let's see. And here's the console background. So, this is, I believe, a completely different car background. We've had multiple cars show up in the series. And of those, only this one so far has had a different background, or like, you know, scene. Every other, like, car that we've sat in or that we've seen had the same model outside, and then on the inside it was the exact same dashboard, the same seats, the same steering wheel. Here it's a tiny bit different, which is interesting. I also wonder what the hell those like bars underneath the vents for the air conditioning are supposed to be. Are those like the speakers? Like where, I don't know. Maybe, it's probably the speakers. Because they're not present in this background. But anyway. When you look at it from the outside, it's just a dirty abandoned car. But on the inside, it's nice and clean because I had swept it out and decorated it a little. That took me a long time. The back seats were lying flat because I wanted to have as much space as possible. I found a mattress in the trash pile and put it into that space instead. It was a bit dirty, so I brought a bedsheet from home and covered the mattress with it. I put my favorite cushions on top, and with that, it turned into a perfect bed. I've put cushions and stuffed animals everywhere. That's not all, look at this. I have a bunch of sweets here too. I have a bunch of fruit candy in 4 different colors, and some cookies, but they're going bad. I'll have to throw them away. My bear-shaped water bottle was empty. When I come here to spend time on Sundays, I usually bring this water bottle with some sweetened tea in it. I have a box of tissues, a flashlight, extra batteries, and other daily necessities in here. I also have a few books to read in order to kill some time while I'm at it. I have this. What do you think it is? Look, ta-da! My hideout is suddenly lit up thanks to the table lamp. There's an electric outlet on the side of an old nearby construction office. I thought they'd have cut the power years ago, but to my surprise, I was wrong. Electricity is still being supplied to the outlet. When I found tons of extension cords, I came up with the idea to connect them all and make the electricity come all the way to my hideout. Now I can spend time here comfortably with some sweets, books, and lights. If I wanted to, I might be able to spend the night here. But I may catch a cold since it gets very cold at night. See? This is a very nice hideout, isn't it? At first, I thought somebody would find it and mess with it. But that hasn't happened so far. That's because nobody comes here, and everybody forgot about this place. That's how this place became my perfect secret hideout. Fortunately, I ate so much today that I'm still full. I can tell them that I was playing with my friend at her house and ate dinner there. I'm going to stay here for a while and relax, and I'm going to treat myself. I loved the water gun battle yesterday. My heart has been pounding since when I fought one-on-one with Keiichi. I also had a great fun at Angel Moore today. I never experienced such a great game with so many people in my life. I was still feeling the after effects, and I was sure I'd have a dream about it tonight. That was why I wanted to bask in these happy feelings. That is why I'm going to treat myself in here. I should take off my shoes and stretch my toes. I should cherish the time when I can be myself. Once I took off my shoes, I felt so relaxed that I didn't want to put them on again. I played all day today and I was very tired. The treasure hunt could wait. As it got darker, the light of the table lamp became encouraging. It really was getting dark faster than usual. All of a sudden, I heard the sound of raindrops hitting the roof of the car. The interval between drops got shorter and shorter. When it became a continuous sound, I began to hear thunder. Even though it was raining heavily, it remained very quiet inside the car, making me feel like I was in a different world. It's my castle after all. I felt a bit cold, so I unfolded my big blanket and hid under it. I'm here alone, under the warm blanket that has my scent. Even though nobody knew where I was at the moment, I feel like I was left alone in the heavy rain. I still feel secure and free from anxiety for some reason. I felt like this heavy rain was keeping my enemies away from my castle. I liked it that way. This place is full of small happiness. It's full of my favorite things. That's why I'm happy whenever I'm here. When I put another blanket over me, I felt as warm as if I were in bed. I listened to the soothing sounds of raindrops hitting the scrap iron in the trash heaps, and it made me feel sleepy. This is a castle of trash. This trash came here because nobody wanted it. This is where it lives. This is a country where unwanted refuse lives together. I felt like I fit in here. But at the same time, I knew it was just a temporary place for me, as there's somewhere I had to go back to. No, I shouldn't think about things like that. Whenever I realize that I don't belong here, I remember that I'm in the middle of a very dirty trash pile. I should just doze off for a little while longer. Thinking is poisonous. I wanted to keep myself out of that poison, so that the kind Rena within me could stay pure. A little bit longer. Just a little bit longer, and I closed my eyes. That was a very, sweet little chapter. That's for sure. Also, what the hell is this? Is that a phone? Is that a cell phone with a number pad in my 1983 visual novel? My immersion has been ruined. Completely. I'm kidding. Anyway, here's a new background. I believe this is supposed to be Rena's room, which we haven't seen before. And this is what it looks like in the console version. There's a little alarm and what appears to be a strawberry, I don't know, plushie. And a remote. And a bag. Anyway. My mother was a very busy woman. The harder she worked, the more her work was valued, and she kept getting promoted. She sought to go higher and higher. She was always shining, and she was my hero. My mother started her career as a fashion designer at a small clothing factory in Okinomiya. My father was a designer too. They met through their jobs and soon got married. They lived in a small apartment in Okinomiya, but they moved to my grandma's house, our current house in Hiramizawa, when she got pregnant with me. We lived there until right before I went to elementary school. Now that I think about it, that was the happiest time of my life. I felt happy every day and believed without a doubt that tomorrow would be the same. I was so happy that I took it for granted and didn't even feel the happiness. I really did feel happy every day. I was small at the time and didn't really understand what was going on, but it seemed like the company my parents were working with was having financial difficulties. So my mother and a few other young designers started talking about leaving the company and going independent. After many things happened and the situation grew complicated, they got an offer to work at a big design firm in Ibaraki and together they took the offer. At the time, I heard my mother saying many difficult words like limited partnership and business alliance, but in short, what she wanted to do was move to Ibaraki. My mother and her peers were hired because their talent and experience made them immediate assets to their new company. Or at their new company. However, my father wasn't one of them. Unfortunately, my father wasn't as talented as my mother was. So moving to Ibaraki meant that my father had to give up being a fashion designer. My mother's new company had high expectations of her talent and promised her a responsible project. She didn't want to waste her growing talent and passion by living in a rural town like Hinamizawa. So my mother convinced my father to quit his job and move to Ibaraki to support her and to help her build her career. Back then, moving meant that I had to say goodbye to my close friends. I didn't want to move and I kept crying about it. After we moved to Ibaraki, my mother was a big success. Not only did she have great leadership skills, she was full of energy and I believe she made the best use of her talents to succeed. She came home late every night and barely had any days off. Also, this is a new background as well, which I'm pretty sure we haven't seen. And the console version. When she had a big project, she often stayed entire nights at her office. But when she came home, she always looked fulfilled and wore a happy smile that she never worn when she was in Hinamizawa. She was shining, and I remembered I always wanted to shine like her when I grew up. On the other hand, my father wasn't doing so well. He couldn't find a job as a fashion designer, so he took a clerical job at a small company, but he kept changing positions. He couldn't use the experience that he had cultivated, and it was very hard for him. But he was very understanding. He started to take care of things around the house for my mother, who got busier and busier having one project after another. He cleaned the house, did the laundry, and came to my school events. However, he couldn't cook. He did cook rice, but always bought side dishes from a grocery store. We ate dinner without my mother more and more often. I guess she's busy again. And here's another new background. With the rice cooker in the background. Oh, wait. There we go. Every time I said that, he always told me, "Your mother is working very hard. So, let's support her, Rena." That was what he always told me. I decided to help my father with the cooking. I thought it was a good idea to learn how to cook since he wasn't good at it. Whenever my mother cooked, I helped her and tried to learn how to cook from her. She apologized for not having enough time to cook for us, but she was happy that I was learning. I think I wrote in my school yearbook that I wanted to be a clothing designer in the future, just like my mother. But apparently, I lacked my mother's exceptional sense of style. She used to tell me, "Taste is something that you're born with, not something that you cultivate." I remember I was discouraged to be a designer because of that. That is why I decided to reach her by getting better at things she wasn't so good at instead of trying to be like her. I wanted to be good not only at cooking, but also at doing things around the house, such as cleaning, doing the laundry, and grocery shopping. I remember my father was really happy that I did all that for him, because he wasn't good at it at all. He couldn't find a job and spent a lot of time at home, so he seemed to enjoy spending time doing the housework with his daughter more than anything. I started to become better and better at filling in for my mother. And she started to get too busy to do any of the housework at all, and she moved to a more responsible position at her job. She took me out to many places as if to compensate for leaving me all alone all the time. She used to say, "Let's go eat somewhere delicious without telling your father," and then took me to a restaurant. She took me to high-class restaurants and amusement parks. Sometimes it was only me and my mother. Sometimes it was with her friends from work. She took me to a beach barbecue one summer with those friends. I was introduced as her daughter, and every one of them pampered me. I still remember that there was one guy who particularly doted on me. He was a good-looking young man. I called him Uncle once, and he got mad at me, who was nicely tanned with dyed brown hair. This young man often came with us when we went out. When my mother took me somewhere, she usually made several phone calls from her work during the day, and sometimes she took me out to a place where she could also do her work at the same time. So I didn't feel awkward when the people from her work came with us, but I always preferred to be alone with her, so I was happier when we could do that. One day, she took me to a very high-end part of town. Of course, she always spoiled me whenever we went out. She bought me things and let me eat whatever I wanted. But she especially spoiled me on that day. She took me to many expensive-looking boutiques and accessory stores. She was about to buy me something, but I told her not to get it because it didn't look good on me. Without hesitation, she bought it anyway. I remember there were many zeros on the price tag. On that day, I realized my mother's design work had made her a very successful woman, and she was earning a lot of money. We took a break at a ridiculously expensive-looking restaurant that probably charged 1,000 yen for a glass of orange juice. Oh my god. And especially back then? This is in the 70s? Let's see. If Rena's like 15, yeah, dude, this would be, early 70s? God damn, that's expensive. Anyway. New background for a new restaurant that we haven't seen. And here's the console version. It's really interesting seeing these backgrounds like this. Because again, this looks just like something you'd see in modern day, right? This looks like a modern day restaurant you'd see in some anime. But this just looks like an old restaurant. An old Western style restaurant from back then. Like the way the plates with the upside down teacups are set, the spoons, the napkins with utensils on them. I don't know. There's something I really like about this image. It's a nice little peek into the past. And mind you, this is a picture that was taken in like 2004. So this restaurant probably doesn't exist anymore. And if it did, it was probably around for a good while before just disappearing. But anyway. My mother clapped her hands and spoke to me with a smile on her face. She asked, "Rena, would you like to make your dream come true?" When I was in kindergarten, my teacher gave students a topic to draw a picture of. The topic was my dream, and I drew myself eating a mountain of fruit parfait all by myself. What my mother meant to say was that she was going to make that dream come true for me. It was a normal day. It wasn't my birthday or anything. But since my mother was always spoiled me when we went out together, I didn't feel awkward about it at all and accepted her offer with a happy smile. There were 5 or 6 fruit parfaits in front of me. I remember it looked exactly like the world I drew, and I felt like I was floating in that dream world. It was too much for us to finish. But we dug our spoons into it as if we were playing in the mud, and we really enjoyed eating it together. It was my first time to experience getting full by eating only fruit parfaits, and I remember I was very happy. I enjoyed tasting the happiness and chatting with my mother.
レイナちゃん、この間映画とお食事に行った時、一緒だった人のことを覚えてる？
秋人おじさんだっけ？
Your mother's having an affair, Rena.
お兄さんって呼ばないとぶたれる。
I can't call him uncle or he's gonna beat the shit out of me. Oh my god.
レイナちゃんは明人さんのこと好き？
嫌い。いっつもレイナのことからかうもん。
それは大好きだからちょっかいを出してるのよ。バーベキューの時はとっても仲良くしてたじゃない。
たまには仲良しかな。かな。
My mother laughed. I didn't know why she brought up the subject, but I didn't really pay attention to it because I was too young. Now that I think about it, she was breaking the news. I just didn't notice it.
ねえ、レイナちゃんはお母さんとお父さんとどっちが好き？
お母さん。
Oh boy. It wasn't that I hated my father or anything, but I thought giving her that answer was appropriate after she spoiled me so
も
much.
しもお母さんとお父さんが別々のお家に住むことになったら、レイナはどっちのお家に住みたい？お母さんね、お父さんと別れて明人おじさんと結婚しようと思うの。
At that time, my mother was a very successful woman. I didn't know this at the time, but she was drafted by a headhunter to work at a bigger company, where she was promoted to a higher and more responsible position, one where she could bring out the most of her talent. Of course, the position wasn't the only thing she gained. Compared to my father's low salary, my mother was earning enough money to support a family of 3 and still have some left over. I kind of realized it from the way she spent money. The greater a position she achieved, the more she spent time with people at her level. All of them were bright and talented. Compared to them, my father might have looked unattractive to her. I liked Uncle Akihito, but I liked him as one of my mother's friends, not in the same way I liked my father. I liked my father and mother equally, so it was very shocking to me that my mother wanted to divorce him. I felt as if the ground below me was beginning to crack. That expression, I realized, actually fit my situation very well. I had to choose which side of the cracked ground I wanted to stand on. My mother told me to live with her at her new house. Her new house meant the house Uncle Akihito lived in. I thought a house was a sanctuary for a family. I believed that a house was a holy place where strangers couldn't easily enter. That was why I couldn't believe her. How could she let a stranger invade such a holy place so easily? Why do you hate my father? My mother looked down and didn't answer. I asked her another question. Why can't you stay with my father? I think that was the hardest and most heartbreaking of all questions for my mother to answer. In short, my mother had cheated on him. She loved another man who was more attractive than my father. It was just that and nothing more. I knew more than anybody that it wasn't my father's fault. First of all, he decided to move from Hinamizawa to support my mother as much as he could. For him, nothing good had come from that. Actually, I think he had a very tough time since we moved to Ibaraki. But he volunteered to be her support and tried very hard to do that. I thought my mother appreciated his support. So, I took her decision as a betrayal. I told her that I disagreed with everything, including their divorce. I said it very loudly and made everybody in the store jump. Sure, continue your relationship with Uncle Akihito, but don't divorce my father. I feel bad for him. I feel terrible for him. He has been doing nothing but support you patiently this whole time. How could you do such a cruel thing to him? I screamed as loud as I could. Then my mother answered. It's too late. Why? You haven't talked to my father about this, have you? It's not too
お
late.
母さんね、妊娠してるの。
Oh my god. I don't know whether my mother actually told him about the divorce in person. A middle-aged woman who called herself a lawyer came to the house several times to talk to my father on my mother's behalf. She sometimes called him too. My father begged the lawyer to let him speak directly to my mother many times, but it never happened. I could tell by the way they talked that they had no clue when my mother told him she wanted a divorce. Well, again, I'm not even sure if she told him in person. The lawyer told him not to meet my mother, not to call her at work, and many other things as well. To top it all off, she told him not to see my mother ever again. He wanted to talk to her. He called some of their mutual friends, but he only found out the name of the guy she was having an affair with and nothing more. He asked me, "Do you know the guy?" I told him, "I do." I also told him that he was a funny guy and he had given me candy many times. I'll never forget how he looked when I told him that. He hit me for the first time. He hit me so hard his handprint stayed on my cheek for a while. Then he fell on the floor and cried loudly, and then I started to cry too. I didn't cry because he hit me. Uncle Akihito was kind to me, so I liked him and talked to him out of courtesy. No, that wasn't it. Girls had to be kind to everybody. That's what I thought. But I was wrong. I learned in this world that there are people you should be nice to, and enemies you shouldn't be nice to. The enemies are the ones who would destroy my life with their very existence. Whether they mean to harm me or not doesn't matter. Oh, this song again. They're like weeds growing in the flower bed. Dandelions are innocent, but they take all the nutrition from the tulips, from the soil. That's why we have to pull them out. The dandelions did nothing wrong, but they're the enemy. Enemies are bad people. That guy was a bad person. I shouldn't have accepted him. I should have rejected him with everything I had. By doing so, I might have been able to disrupt their relationship. By doing so, I might have been able to make my mother feel like their relationship was not going to work. If I tried to do so, my parents wouldn't have had to break up. Oh, Rena. So now she's blaming herself for, being the reason why her parents got divorced. My father and I cried together, but we cried for different reasons. He must have cried because it happened so fast and it didn't make any sense to him. I cried because I regretted that I let it happen when I had the chance to prevent it. My father stroked my cheek and opened his mouth to apologize, but he couldn't speak and just cried with me. One day, the lawyer let me see my mother. My mother asked me to live with her at her new house again. At her house again. I didn't know what to say, so I just kept looking down and listened to her apologies. My father knew that I was going to see my mother on that day, so he handed me a letter and told me to give it to her. I don't know what he wrote in that letter, but for some reason I was able to imagine what kind of things he wrote when I felt it through the envelope. After all, the letter inside the envelope had a rough surface. He must have been crying while writing the letter, and his tears made the letter all wrinkled when it dried. My mother took the letter from me, told me that she'd read it later, and was about to put it in her bag. I stopped her and told her to read it right there. I wanted to see how she was going to take the last words that my father had left to her, but my mother didn't read it. She told me she wanted to read it alone later, and she put it in her bag. At that time, I realized. No, it was more than that. I should say, I knew, because it was so obvious. I knew that my mother was lying. She had no intention of reading my father's letter. She was going to throw it away after I was gone, but she lied just because she wanted to seem like a nice person in front of me. The slight curl in her eyebrow and lips told me that more clearly than anything else. At that moment, I finally knew something else. The guy she was having an affair with wasn't the only bad person. My mother was also a bad person. Since that moment, the existence of my mother disappeared from my world like dry ice evaporating. I didn't have to hesitate about whom to live with anymore.
あなたの家には行きません。私の家は竜宮の家です。もうあなたとも会いたくありません。二度と呼ばないでください。
でもね、レイナ、お父さんの方に残ったらこれからの生活。
At that moment, I hated my name for the first time in my life.
私のこと気安くレイナって呼ばないでください。失礼します。さようなら。
Those were my last words to my mother. No, to the woman who used to be my mother. After that, I spent many days without feeling anything. I didn't know if the days were long or short. I didn't know which season I was living in. It was supposed to be nothing out of the ordinary, not having my mother around. But every time my father saw things that reminded him of her, like her toothbrush, her teacup, or her favorite books, he shed tears which left me frustrated. That's why I decided to completely remove her belongings from the house. I roughly threw her things into a black trash bag. I started to do so frantically. By the time I knocked down her wardrobe, threw her music box hard on the floor, and broke her mirror, my mind was already not working properly. When I tried to remember what happened after that, I feel disoriented. That's because the pills the doctor gave me back then made me feel disoriented and lethargic every time I took them. It seems that dullness hit me especially hard, since every time I try to remember that time, it makes me feel disoriented and lethargic just like the pills made me feel. I destroyed everything that smelled like my mother, but the thing I wanted to destroy the most might have been myself. Even after I threw all of her belongings away, I still couldn't stop feeling regret, and I decided to blame myself in the end. Maybe I was thinking that I wanted to do damage to her reputation and successful life by destroying her daughter, destroying myself. When I was about to reach that very last resolution, Oyashiro-sama came to me. Oyashiro-sama told me to go back to Hinamizawa. Yes, all of this was because of his curse. Oyashiro-sama brought a curse upon the Ryugu family because we broke his rule and abandoned Hinamizawa. After I figured that out, everything started to make sense to me. All of the crazy things that happened after my mother was gone. The curse of Oyashiro-sama did all of that to us. It was Oyashiro-sama's voice that was telling us to come back to Hinamizawa. That's right. We should have stayed in Hinamizawa. Everything went crazy because we moved. We had to go back to Hinamizawa. I started feeling disoriented again, and a dull pain ran through my head. It might be a scream from within telling me not to push myself too hard to remember any further. And then this is a new background. So this is Rena's house, which I believe it's the first time we've seen this. I believe this is the first time we've seen this. The house where we used to live in Hinamizawa was still there. My grandma already passed, and the house was the only property she left for us. I remember that I used to live in Hinamizawa, but all I remembered was that it was a village that I used to live in until right before I went to elementary school. I remembered the atmosphere of the village too, but that was all I remembered. I forgot the streets and even the names of close friends I used to play with. The neighbors knew that the son of the deceased woman had come back divorced, but they didn't know us and we didn't know them. So it was almost like we moved to a new place. However, as far as I was concerned, it was still my hometown that I had come back to. At first, everything was inconvenient compared to life in Ibaraki, and it was hard for us to adjust. But we renovated the old house, and it was only me and my father. Life here seemed to make my father forget his pain from the divorce. Michan was very kind to me, and I started to get used to my new life too. I did everything around the house, and we gradually went back to a time where we used to live happily. Actually, give me 1 second. Okay, sorry about that. I think Kick went down. Now that I like, or at least from what I'm looking at, or seeing from my end. I don't know. Like I can't load the site at all on my end. It might have gone down, it might have not. But it seems like it kicked me out, which is really weird. I can try logging in again and seeing if anything happens, but I don't believe anything will. Yeah. Okay. Well, seems like Kick is having errors again, which is not a big deal. This is just normal for Kick. As fucking always. Anyway, we'll keep going. So I did everything around the house and we gradually went back to a time when we used to live happily. Anybody can live a happy life. People sometimes say that to, People sometimes say that to some people... People sometimes say that some people are born to be unhappy, but I believe that's just an excuse for people who don't even want to try. I won't give in to fate. I'll never give up trying to recapture the happy times that I lost. I'm going to become happy to the point where I don't even feel the happiness anymore. I'm not going to cry anymore. I'll never cry again. I used up all of my tears on that night my father hit me. The curse of Oyashiro-sama is over because we came back to Hinamizuwa, so I'm going to have a happy life from now on. All of a sudden, big raindrops hit the roof of the car and I recovered my senses. It was still raining hard. It had already gotten dark outside. The shadows the table lamp created were very dark and it looked like as if there was nothing else around me. If I turned off this light, would everything in this world disappear? I turned off the light. Darkness swallowed me. But the cold air and the sound of rain didn't change a bit, and that made me realize I was still in this world. The curse of Oyashiro-sama. Did the curse of Oyashiro-sama do those crazy things to my family? Or did I convince myself it did as an excuse for myself because I didn't want to feel guilty about the divorce? Sometimes I'm not sure. Yeah, so I was gonna mention this before, but yeah, it feels like Rena started blaming herself for her parents' divorce. You know, she mentioned, what was his name? Akihito, I think? And how, you know, she got candy from him. And that pissed off her dad, like, a lot. Like, it really upset him. And she realized, fuck, if I would have just rejected this guy, it would have been a lot better. Because then he wouldn't have gone after my mom, my parents would still be together, and so on. So she started blaming herself from a young age for her parents getting divorced. So she blamed herself as the reason why they got divorced. And as a sort of way to like rationalize that, she thought of the curse itself. She remembered how when she was younger, all the kids in town talked about how if you ever want to leave Hinamizuwa, you will be, you know, subject to Oyashiro-sama's curse, which is, well, not a good thing, right? So now that she was away from Hinamizuwa, her parents had gotten divorced. Instead of coming to terms with the fact that it happened and moving on, she just started blaming herself. And then that blame shifted to, oh, it's the curse. Because I was cursed, Oyashiro-sama is blaming us for having, abandoned him. And now here she is, like, thinking about it. Or did I convince myself it did as an excuse for myself because I didn't want to feel guilty about the divorce? Sometimes I'm not sure. So, just like how with Mion, the real Mion, how the steps or, you know, the footsteps that she heard behind her or the voices that she was hearing, it wasn't Satoshi, it wasn't Oyashiro-sama's curse, it was her guilt, as far as we know. So, seems like it's the same here. Oyashiro-sama's curse that Rena felt was probably just that, the guilt itself as well. Since that time, Oyashiro-sama hasn't come to me. I sometimes feel like it was a delusion I created because I was mentally ill. Yeah, but he did come at that time. I'm sure about that. Am I right, Oyashiro-sama? I was unhappy after I left Hinamizuwa, but I came back and I'm happy now. But where am I supposed to go now that I'm unhappy in Hinamizuwa? Where?
ダメだ、レナ。不幸になったとか考えちゃいけない。私は幸せなんだ。幸せになるんだ。だから、絶対に幸せになれるんだ。
Suddenly, I felt that if this darkness swallowed me, I'd never be able to be happy again. I found the switch of the table lamp and turned it back on. When I looked at the clock, it was already past 11 p.m. I had to go home. I wouldn't have time to prepare my lunch, or I wouldn't have time to prepare my lunch for tomorrow. At least I'd have to set a timer on the rice cooker. It didn't look like the rain was going to stop anytime soon. I looked out the window to see the rain, but I could only see my reflection. I talked to that reflection in the window. I'm so glad that my father's happy. He'd been acting like he was dead for a long time. The smile on his face is a good sign that he's regained his former happy life. He became miserable because of me. That's why I don't mind doing things for him until he regains his smile and we become truly happy. When I stay here alone for a while, it gives him some time to be alone with her. Plus, I don't have to fake a smile. But then, my reflection in the window tells me, Rena, you're such a good girl. You're kind to everybody and love them equally. You can make anybody like you. But did you forget something? In this world, there are people you should be kind to, and enemies that you have to reject with all you've got. I thought you learned that lesson. No, don't listen to her. My reflection is always mean. She always says mean things and makes fun of my worries. But she always tells me things that I can't say myself. Let's go home, Rena. To your home. Forget about the mean Rena in the mirror. I was a bit hungry by then. After all the desserts I ate, I still got hungry. I almost forgot. But Rena bought me a shortcake. I've never had a shortcake from Angel Mord, but I bet it'll taste good. I'd have to give my thanks to Rena the next time I see her. Rena speaks in a way that makes it very clear how she grew up, but I'm sure she's a good person. That's because she's so good to my father. I did everything I could to make my father smile, but I failed. On the other hand, Rena can put a big smile on his face so easily. I have to thank Rena. I have to thank her for cheering up my father. But I don't know why. I just don't like her perfume. Okay, seems like I gotta kick back up. But I think this is probably still gonna be a good stopping point soon. Let's go ahead and read the new tips that we got. So we got my summer vacation picture diary and premonition of rainy days. Today I went to a swimming pool with my mom. Uncle Akihito came with us too. I don't like him because he's sometimes mean to me, but he's a very kind and funny old man. He told me to call him Daddy for that day because he was going to play with me at the pool like he was my daddy. My mom called him Daddy, so I did too. Uncle Akihito looked very happy and gave me a lot of money. My mom looked very happy and it made me happy too. I want to play with him again. I hope my dad can come with us next time. Oh my god. I just feel so fucking bad for Rena. Premonition of rainy days. I think this is a new background. I don't believe we've seen a, like, pink sunset or a pink sky yet. But yeah, at least the backgrounds in this game, especially the console version, always look really nice. Whoever they got for scenery, like, did a wonderful job. Like, always. I opened the window, placed my cushion nearby, and prepared to enjoy the weather. But she came over and disrupted my peaceful evening. She always ruins my time of solitude.
幸せそうね。そっか。今日はあんたの大好きな甘いものがたくさん食べられたものね。
This girl loves sweets more than anything. I like them too, but I can't eat like she does. It'd give me heartburn if I ate the amount she ate today. She seemed to be very happy, so I'll leave her alone for a while. I've been making my favorite hot and salty food for the past few days, so she must be quite pleased today. It was a very fun day for me too. I just wanted to enjoy the memory of the excitement I felt today by sitting here quietly and enjoying the sunset. But when I looked up at the sky, I saw some thick clouds forming there. The wind was a bit cooler than usual. It might start raining
大
soon.
地震や大津波などの知らせとして、浅瀬に普段は絶対に見かけることができない深海の魚が現れることがあるっていう話があるらしいわね。
We saw a very rare fish that dwells in deep water in the shallows today. Just as the ancient stories of sea monsters say, people hate deep-sea animals and tend to interpret them as omens of a disaster. It didn't matter if they showed up alive or dead. Ah, I said something interesting just now. Even if they showed up alive or dead, it was an omen of a disaster. Oh, it might start raining
う
soon.
るさいな。言われなくてもわかってる。洗濯物を取り入れるわよ。
I grabbed a basket and went outside to take the laundry in. The clouds were getting darker. I normally like rain, but I didn't think I'd enjoy it today. Who the fuck was that? It sounded a bit like Rika's other voice. For a moment. Anyway, let's talk a little bit about the chapter before we call it for today. But yeah, it was a very interesting one. It was really short for the most part. I was also kind of like speed reading it. But that's because I don't know, I kind of got in the zone and I wanted to read a bit more of it. Or I wanted to know what was going to come next. It's funny how at the start of the chapter they're like, oh, this will be a very easy chapter. Just enjoy the clowns up on stage. You know, doing their little performance. And then here we go from just two happy scenes, right? From the water gun fight to the cake eating scene. And then we immediately go into Rena's parents getting divorced. Like their background on that. Or the background for that. It's it's quite something. Which is why I wasn't gonna like let my guard down for this chapter. But if you're watching this, right, and you're just like, you know, enjoying it, right? You're like, like for anyone that's gonna be watching this later on YouTube, they're probably gonna watch like, you know, the first stream and then they'll watch the second one. And they'll go from the first one being like, oh man, this chapter is gonna be a lot of fun, and then they get to this one, and then it's like, oh, what a fucking downer. But it was a very good chapter. That's for sure. I really do enjoy, like, I love the imagery of Rena laying in the back of a car. Like, because if you know, station wagons have, well, they're wagons, right? So they've got a long bed in the back, like for storage. And she has a mattress back there. And it's just interesting, like, picturing her laying there, looking up into the sky, maybe like out the back window, as the rain falls, and you can hear the rain trickling and, you know, just hitting the top of the roof gently. The rain splashing over like the scrap metal that's all over the junkyard. I don't know, there's just a very nice and comforting image. It's neat getting a peer into Rena's world and like what goes on through her mind. It's very relaxing. Or at least that scene was very relaxing. It was a very, very, very interesting scene. I really did like it. This chapter so far has been really good. I can only hope it gets it keeps getting better. But anyway, I think this is a good stopping point for tonight. So let's go ahead and get ready to swap on over to the ending screen, even though it's a very short chapter for today.